On 720 WGN, live in the All-State Showcase studio up on the 7th floor. I got this email, which prompted me to want to call my friend Roy Spencer from Perma-Seal. Let me find Roy Spencer. Hello, Roy Spencer. Hello, Roy.
Hey, good morning, Luke.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Roy Spencer, president and founder of Perma-Seal Basement Systems. As you all know, they're a fine sponsor here at WGN, and I also work with Perma-Seal to help promote their business and other avenues around Chicagoland. Roy, I got this email actually from my wife's Uncle Michael, and he said this was, in the height of this drought that we had. It said down south, after a prolonged drought, we were told to run a soaker hose alongside the foundation. This would prevent the foundation from shifting due to the earth shrinking due to the extreme drought. This was to prevent walls and ceilings from cracking due to foundation shifting. FYI, Uncle Michael. Now, they do things differently down there in the south.
Yeah, and they actually have different challenges, but their foundations generally aren't as deep as ours. They don't have a lot of basements in the south either. So, actually the soaking of the ground, that would be a good idea for us too if we had the capacity to do that, because the foundations do this rest on the soil, which obviously in severe drought, and they have real hot weather in Texas and areas like that, where that's practical advice down there, but it's not real practical for us. I wish it were that easy.
Right. And the biggest issue, and you and I were talking about this, is the fact that as this ground just continues to dry, I think for most of us we think about, oh, geez, my lawn looks terrible, and look at my trees are so, they look terrible, my bushes, all this other kind of stuff. But your home sitting on this dry soil can shift due to this condition in the soil.
Yeah, I guess your home will start to look unhappy like the trees in the ground after a while. It can, because at the end of the day, like I say, regardless if you're on a basement, a crawl space, or even a slab, there's a footing that rests on the soil, which supports the whole weight of your house. So as the soil is dried out, a lot of people can see that, as it's been dried, the ground pulling away from the house on the side, but it's also, pulling down from the bottom, and the house is actually going down with that soil as it contracts.
So somebody looking, maybe they're listening to this and they're going, geez, I wonder if I have this problem. Roy said my door doesn't close. That must be what's going on. Can you talk a little bit about some of the signs to look for to see if, in fact, you may have a structural issue in your home?
Sure. I would start in the basement, and if it's exposed, you can see cracks in the basement walls and stuff. And typically, these are not hairline cracks. They're fairly wide. If you got a crack, more than an eighth of an inch, wide or something, that's pretty good evidence. There's probably structural problems, or it could be cracks in the basement floor. If the basement floor looks like it's settled. A lot of times, though, you can see it upstairs, and not just windows and doors and cabinet doors not opening and closing. Baseboards, if you see gaps underneath your baseboard, you're mopping the floor, and all of a sudden the mop's going underneath the baseboard where it didn't used to.
That's so you get it nice and clean underneath there. That's the dust that nobody ever reaches.
And, and floors that aren't level and all things, you set the baby down, she's rolling across the floor. That's not a good sign. You see a lot of cracks in the drywall and plaster. So all these things you might notice in your day-to-day living. The biggest danger there is when people say, oh, my windows won't open or close, and so they buy new windows.
Right.
And then they spend thousands of dollars, and the same thing happens to the new windows. So you want to make sure that before you replace your windows that, if they're sticking or something, that it's not a structural problem. The other things that you can see outside, typically, very easily, if you have a brick home, you'll see step cracking in the bricks, or even cracks that run, right through the bricks as opposed to just the mortar line. So you'll see caulking around the windows. It's all of a sudden it's a big gaps around the caulking. You may see sinkholes in the soil, or patios or sidewalks that are settling back towards the house all of a sudden. That's an indication, because when the foundation is sinking, typically the soil goes down there, tries to fill that up, so it may get washed out. Another thing that we've seen, interesting enough, is gas meters. It's crooked, and because it's resting on the soil, and then the soil drops the gas meter after it drops. So if your gas meter's crooked, that's a good indication as well.
So if you've got some of those signs, 800-421-SEAL, 800-421-SEAL, or permaseal.net.